last speaker, Stuti.
Last speaker. I'm the only thing standing between yourselves and lunch.
Hurry up.
Hang in there. I'd like to share with you today a story. I believe that life is a journey that we tell through stories. And my story today is about how I got to be here, speaking to you today. Now, when any good reporter tells a story, in order for them to tell the full story, they must ask 6 questions. And I'd like to offer you those 6 questions today to write the story of your life. So the first question, of course, is what? What is this about? And when we start to write the story of our lives, one of the first things we ask ourselves is, what should I do? Now, the more talented you are, the more gifts you have, the more opportunities you have, the more connections you have, it might make it harder, ironically, for you to answer this question. And you might find yourselves in a state of confusion. Now, confusion, by the way, is a state where we don't trust our abilities and we're afraid of getting it wrong. My learning is your destiny actually unfolds one inspiration at a time. And my story started with an inspiration. I was in conversation with an ISECer, no surprises there, an ISEC friend, in a very inspiring conversation. And then I had an epiphany. I realized in that one life-changing moment that everything in my life that had held me back was always a form of fear. It wasn't circumstances, other people, opportunities. It was always something I did or didn't do, something I said or didn't say. So I became curious about that. And I went, well, what would I love to share? What is inspiring me today? And I went, well, I love to write. A life without fear, that's my quest. So I'm going to write about that and I'll share it with a few people that might be interested in reading it. I'm curious about the topic, so I'm going to share that generously with other people. But of course I went, well, no one else is going to be interested. Nobody wants to talk about fear. But that's what I would love to do. That's what I would love to do, because that's what makes me curious and inspires me today. And so I found myself at a conference in Colombia, and I say conference, no surprises. Ended up, despite a lot of protest from the other hand, this hand kept going up. So the other one said, no, down, no you don't. But I still said I would love to talk about this. I found myself in another ERAC 6 years ago, having a talk with you very much like this one. And it all came from curiosity and a desire to share that. But of course, the more you start to do something, or you want to do something, another question comes up. Well, who am I to do this? Who's going to want to listen to me? What credentials do I have? What authority do I have? Guess where that comes from? We've just talked about it a lot in the talk before. I don't belong here. I don't have a seat at the table. I don't have what it takes. I'm an imposter. I'm an outsider. I'm hiding. I'm only faking it. Well, I'd like to say to you that you are the only one with your desires, your passion, your abilities, your gifts, your vision, your dreams, your knowledge, your skills, your experiences, your connections there's only one like you in the world. There's only one like you in the world. So, well, if not you, then who? And this question comes from a very different place. This question takes ownership. Well, I have the inspiration. I have the desire to share it. So you know what? I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway. So I decided to embrace that, not without my own fears. Please do come and talk to me about it in the break. We'll talk about it in the workshop. And I went, you know what? I'm gonna own that. So I found myself in a position where I was due to give my first corporate talk. And they had offered it as a lunchtime event, so people could come if they choose. And again, the question came up, who's going to want to listen to me? Who am I to do this? I'm a management professional. I don't talk about soft stuff like fear, fluffy. Actually, if my bosses find out what I do, they'll fire me. How can I do this in addition to my job? It'll ruin my reputation, my image. I'm this rational professional, not somebody who talks about human beings and human fears and human potential. But you know what? I have to do this anyway, because if not me, then who? And I said to myself, by the way, they booked a room for 65 people for my first talk. 65 people, who's going to come and listen to me? And I told myself, even if 2 people turn up, I'm going to serve them with all my heart. Well, 12 o'clock came, the doors opened, no one. A minute went by, and 2 people came in. And I went, that's my audience. I'm going to serve them. And then a few more people came in. And then a few more. And then a few more. We had 85 people in a room for 65. There were 20 people standing for an hour's talk in their lunch break to listen to me. And this gentleman on the right, standing there for an hour, was my senior vice president. He came and stood for an hour to listen to me. He brought his assistant along, and he wrote in later to the organizers to say, I learned a lot from that talk, and I even shared it with others on Friday night at the dinner table. Who are you? If not you, then who? But of course, then things start to get serious. We know our path, we try it out, and then the rational mind, i.e. the fear mind, kicks in again. Yes, but why should I do this? Why should I follow this path over others? What's in it for me? And essentially, that question is a bit for security. It's an absolutely natural human desire to be safe, to want to guarantee outcomes. But this question looks for guarantees before we even start. Will I be successful? Will I earn a living? Will my family still like me? Will my community still accept me? Will my identity still be acceptable to me as I think of myself? Another thing I've learned. We cannot guarantee outcomes, but it's when we share our greatest gifts, the treasures within, that we get our greatest rewards. And by the way, those treasures will evolve as you do. Who I am today is not who I was 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago. Who you are today has evolved. What are the treasures hiding within you today? And even today, the same question comes up, well, how can I do the thing I want to do now? Why should I do that? Who am I to do that? We cannot guarantee outcomes. So we have to ask ourselves, am I in it for the right reasons? Why would I love to do this? And the one word answer that always orientates me back in that service. What would I love to serve? What's bigger than me? What's bigger than my fears? What do I love? Well, I love to make people laugh. I love to get people talking. I love to challenge the way people think about things, the way people do things. I love to help people create difficult outcomes with ease. I love to take them beyond where they thought they could go. And by the way, I have learned that I also love to serve my own expression. That's just as important as anything else. But of course, the more you want to serve, the more you want to do. And then the question comes up, how? How can I do it all? A sense of overwhelm. Anyone experience that? So much I want to do. How am I going to do it all? Where's that coming from? Essentially, that is a fear that what we do and give will not be enough. That we will not be enough. Our impact will not be enough. That we are not enough. We don't have the capacity. We don't have the support. We don't have the resources. We don't have the time. I find this a very leveling and humbling thing to remember. You are a most beautiful gift to this earth. But you're not meant to carry the earth on your shoulders. You're just meant to walk on it one step at a time. You're not here to do it alone. And by the way, there's a place for you, for everyone who shares your vision. Whether you are a pioneer in your field, whether you're doing something that many other people are already doing, there is a place for you. And you are not meant to do it all today. You are not meant to create it all now. It's a journey which will evolve as you evolve. And you're certainly not meant to go it alone. And speaking of going, well, how can I go forward and then take that one next step? So the thing to ask yourself is, what's obvious to me now? Maybe being here at ERAC is your one obvious next step. Maybe having a conversation with someone is your next step. Maybe making a commitment to that one action or one impact area is your next step. Maybe having a rest to recharge is your one next step. Maybe finding a coach or a trainer is your next step. Maybe taking a bold leap is your next step. Maybe starting again is your next step. Maybe humbly learning something you thought you already knew is your next step. So whatever is your next step is the path to follow. But of course, where does that path take you? Where should I be in 5 years' time? Where should I do it? Should I do it in the corporate world? Should I do it in the development world? Where should I go? Any planners in the room? Anybody love to plan? Planning is a valuable skill, a fantastic ability to have. But when the need to have everything perfectly planned out stops us from taking action, that's when you know it's coming from fear. You will never have it all perfectly planned out. How can you? You don't know how the world is going to be. You don't know how you're going to evolve, what your journey is going to be, what stories you are going to tell in future years. But you are here, in this very place, whether that's here physically, whether that's where you are in your life right now, whether that's where you are in your journey, you are here to serve your gifts. How do you serve your gifts? By honoring them, by nurturing them, by listening to them, by sharing them. And when you serve your gifts, each of the gifts that calls to you, you will be serving your life's purpose. And in serving your life's purpose, you will be serving others. In fulfilling your potential, you will be fulfilling the potential of others. And in doing so, you will be creating peace in the world. Peace through fulfillment of our potential. So you can ask the question where, but how about where do I find myself? That's me taking an opportunity to write. I love to write. Looking out at the forest in Germany where we were. There I am giving another talk at a new corporate location. That's me coaching a client, believe it or not, in Australia, in Sydney, in the Botanical Gardens. Why not? And here I am sitting with my daughter on a pavement in London. And I learned so much in that moment, I even wrote about it, I posted about it. If in every moment you can find the opportunity, then you can ask yourself, where would I love to be? And you go there. You go there. You create that opportunity. You follow your heart. You follow the call. But when? When should I start? When should I do it? Tomorrow? The day after? Next year? When I have all the skills and abilities? Where is that really coming from? I want to say to your fear, you are already having an impact in this moment, right now, on others, on the world, on yourself, whether you choose to act or not. Everything you say or don't say, today, the day after, the month after, the year after, everything you do or don't do is having an impact and will have a ripple impact. So you're already having an impact. So well, if not now, then when? If not now, then when? And again, that doesn't mean you do everything today, you create it all today. But you take that one next step today. You find the courage. It takes courage to go beyond your fears. It takes love of your vision to go beyond your fears. But by the way, what better way to find courage than with your tribe? Than the people that you know have got your back, that support you, that will guide you, that will teach you, that will take you places you didn't think you could be in. So, Tony Robbins likes to say, change your standards, change your life. I put it to you, change your questions, change your life. The way that you approach what you're presented with will directly impact your destiny, your life, your happiness, your impact. So what are the 6 questions that shape your impact? Here they are again. And essentially what you're doing is you're changing your orientation from one of fear to something higher, something that inspires you. And by the way, I can guarantee you, you're going to have an idea, or many. You're going to start with ideas, but then this is going to happen. That's going to happen. You know it. At some point, you're going to question yourself, you're going to doubt yourself, you're going to believe you don't belong, you don't have what it takes, it's not your place. That is going to come up. That's why it's a fearless journey. But that's when the inspiration will find you again. And if you heed that, that'll guide you out of that dark place. And believe me, it can be a really dark place sometimes. And what happens when you follow your inspiration, when you listen to the heart of what's calling you? That's when you find your momentum. You find movement. You grow. You go. And what happens when you do? What you create is far beyond what you expected to create. But how do we measure our impact? Again, any rational people in the room that love to know impact? Well, I've been really, really fortunate. I've had the opportunity in these last 10 years to go to places I didn't think I would get to in a very long time. I've had the honor of being on 3 TEDx stages. one of my TEDx talks was in the top 50 new talks of that year. That's out of 13,500 talks that were released that year. I've had the opportunity. Thank you. I've had the opportunity to work with some very senior leadership teams and train them. Me, who am I to do this? I've had that opportunity and that privilege. I've spoken to audiences, I've moderated events for thousands of people in one go. I've worked with some fantastic coaching clients. But none of that means anything. These are simply indicators of impact. Lead indicators, because of course we need to reach other people to create an impact. And also lag indicators, because the more impact we create, the more opportunities we will receive, we will create. So if the metrics don't determine our impact, what does? It's the stories. And this is why we've been telling stories all day today. Every time somebody has taken the time to share their story with me, what they are doing is having an impact on me. They are inspiring me to keep going. They are guiding me. They are helping shape my next obvious steps in my direction. You will never know the full extent of your impact. You will never know all the people you have touched through what you have done. One hug in a conference years ago. One talk that somebody attended. But a year later, 2 years later, 8 years later, they may write to you and say, you helped me create a result for my family that I did not think was possible. You helped me guide my team to places that we'd never been to before. You helped me go deeper within myself. You helped me access my intuition in a corporate environment. Every time somebody tells you a story, you will have an indication of their impact. But what they do as further impact, you will never be able to measure, and you don't need to. But the stories will gladden your heart. And isn't that what we do at ISEC, by the way? We change the world one person at a time, because they then have a cascading impact on the world. What a powerful position to be in. We've already been telling stories for 76 years. In fact, we've not just been telling stories, we've been rewriting the story of the world for 76 years. So my question to you is, what is your story? How are you going to tell your story today? How will you write your story going forward? And are you ready to create your impact? Despite the fear, beyond the fear, without fear? So all I want to say, from my heart, thank you so much for being a part of my story, for shaping my story, my journey, my impact, my life. And I would love to hear your stories. Thank you very much.